Hello and welcome. In this video, as you can see, this is the semi-trailer of the video. We'll be working with the PEX pipe. We'll be replacing all the galvanized that you see here in this home. This is a 2-bath house, 1 laundry, kitchen, and 2 outside spigots. And the issue is the customer was not getting enough water pressure. And if you're familiar with the old galvanized lines, and you live in a home that have these old galvanized lines, you'll understand the situation of and the necessity of having these pipes replaced. This is just to begin giving you an idea of what I'm going to cover in this video. With the PEX piping, even replacing the drywall and cutting into the wall, and all the preps that we need to do to get these pipes replaced. Okay, now we're going to start by here, and this is what I'm showing you here. This is one of the hall baths, and you can see that they've had a lot of work done on the house, where they've had it kind of semi-remodeled, but they actually put the cart before the horse. Me personally, I would replace the pipes first, then had this done, because now it makes it a very complicated and difficult job as far as piping, because now I have to work around this stuff because we're not going to where they're not going to allow me to tear this stuff back out anyway. So we're going to have to be very, very, very creative, and that's also what this video is about: creative plumbing. Most times when you're doing a renovation and replacing the water lines in a home, you have to be very creative, because you don't want to totally tear the home down and tear it apart just to get plumbing in there. I mean, in the past, yeah, you would have had to do stuff like that, but now that we have new piping system like the PEX pipe, it makes it a little easier, and makes it a lot makes it much more easier to work with, and not tear up so much of the home as you have to get the new piping in. Of course, when the new piping was put in here, the home was new. There was no roof, there was no walls, no drywall, so plumbing was easy to put in at the time. The pipes were easy, but now we have to work around all this stuff. And you can see here we're up in the attic, and you're gonna just see what I'm gonna have to crawl through and how I'm gonna have to make things work. Yes, I'm gonna have to crawl back there. The highest point of this roof is probably in the attic is probably about 4 feet, maybe 4.5, if that much, right in here. Even at that, when I'm walking through there and balancing myself on these rafters, I'm still bent over, because there's no way that you can actually stand up straight. There's not enough room. This is to give you an idea why, if you are having this type of work done to your house, or thinking of having it done, you can understand why the cost would be anywhere from like $6,000 to $10,000 just for a 2-bath house, because of the work that's required. Just in case you're catching this video, years later, or right now, the year right now is 2015, about to turn to 2016, and this was around in October when this job was done. So that gives you an idea of the pricing now in 2015 compared to whenever you're watching this. This is anywhere, like I said, from a $6,000 to $10,000 job. This job would have at least been $10,000, if not more, because of the access into this roof. It was so low and it was very tight to work in. It's not too many plumbers going to do this very cheap. Um, the people here were fortunate that I do know them, and I wanted to use it as a video. And my luck, I picked this one. It wasn't easy. Anything that could go wrong went wrong. Anything that wasn't where it's supposed to be was there. And example, this water heater. This is one of their tankless water heaters. The only tankless water heater. Who put this here? I don't know. I've never even seen one like this, but I'll discuss it with them and see if they would like to change this out, or I really don't want to mess with it because it doesn't look like it's up to code. Now this is the laundry room, and when I was working in this laundry room, I guess when I kind of pan the camera around, you can see there was a refrigerator in here. You've got the washer, the dryer, and that little tankless water heater. And it was very tight working in this area. And I always, whenever I'm making a cut into the wall, I do try to do a neat a job as I can, because I know the guy that may be coming behind me to replace this drywall. I like to make it easy for him, as anyone would make it easy for me if I had to come behind them. And besides, I just may be the guy replacing this drywall. So if I can make this nice, neat, clean job, I can come back later, and it makes my job a lot easier putting this stuff back, or anyone else. And of course, yes, I just bought this level. This is a 2-foot level. This way I get my nice straight lines. And the purpose for cutting this piece of the drywall out is so that I have access to the old galvanized pipes and access to install the PEX pipe. As you know, PEX pipe is very flexible, and I can push it up into the attic and get it to where I need it. And this is my little drywall saw, also known as a keyhole saw. And for those of you that are stickler on terminology, I'm here down in Texas, the southern part of Texas, and when they speak of drywall, they say they call it sheetrock. And I know for some of you up north and out in the Midwest that you do use the terminology drywall. So just wanted to kind of clear that up. And throughout the process of this video, I will be trying to cover the different terminologies for the different areas, so that everyone's kind of on the same page. Because if you're like me, you use a different terminology, you throw me just like completely off. So I'll try to cover as much as I can. And if you have any questions yourself, please feel free to write it down in the description down below. Let me know what you would like to know, what you would like to, a video you'd like to see, anything. And I like using this, my little drywall saw. It makes it easier because you can doing it by hand, and whatever you're cutting, you can kind of feel what's going on back there, so you make sure that you don't cut anything that you shouldn't be cutting. You'll know when to stop when you get into a spot where you feel a little tug. You say up, and you work your way around that. And this is probably the best way to cut drywall if you're not sure what's going on behind the drywall. If you try to use anything like a reciprocating saw, also known as a sawzall, It's possible that you can cut into wire, pipe, or anything else back there that you shouldn't be cutting into. So doing it by hand, you'll feel a lot more, and you'll feel a lot safer. It's slower, but it's worth the wait. And you know, a lot of times when I do cut drywall, sheetrock, I do like to take it out as neat as I can, but in the case of this one here, since it's going around the pipes, it's going to come out neat, but it would be nice if I could take it out in one piece where that one piece can go out back in, but that's not going to be the case here. I'm going to have to break this and just take it out in pieces. And when the time comes to replace it, then we'll come up with another plan to make it look as smooth and even as possible and cut around the pipes itself. Okay, now we have our access cut into the wall. Where we have exposed the galvanized water lines, the hot and the cold. Uh, Cold always being on the right, and hot always being on the left. And of course, there's some insulation. This is a outside wall, so the outside is right on the other side of this. If we were up north, Midwest, or any area of the country that gets really cold, this wouldn't happen. These pipes would be inside, either coming up through a basement or somewhere, but they would not run it on the outside wall because of the freezing temperatures. Here, we really don't have that issue. Here's the kitchen sink. And again, there's an outside wall. And we spoke about the freezing, and this area, probably the coldest we're going to get is probably 20 degrees. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm panning the camera around and being creative and getting an idea the best way to run the new piping without having to tear out all these cabinets, because that would be ridiculous and very expensive to tear those out and have them put back in. So I removed the refrigerator, and it looks like the best access that I have is from back here, where I can cut the drywall and run the pipes back here. And from back here, I can take it and go through the cabinets on the back side of the cabinets and come out on the other side with the hot and the cold. And we're also going to replace this ice maker box also. And just like I cut the hole in the other in the laundry room, same thing here. I'm going to take my 2-foot level and mark it off, get my nice straight lines, and cut this part of the drywall out so that we can have it set up for the new PEX pipe coming in, and also the of course, removing the ice maker box. and having access to replace that too. The galvanized pipe to this, and you can see I could taking the drywall saw and just kind of reaching back there and see if I feel if there's anything that if the pipe's below anywhere, so that I make sure that I don't cut into anything that I don't need to cut into or shouldn't cut into. Right here you can see I'm tapping the back end of the drywall saw just enough to get my saw in there so that I can actually start cutting, because just trying to push it in there is pretty difficult. So just give it a slight hit on the back and kind of push it through. And again, when cutting into drywall like we're doing here, this is something you do not want to try with a reciprocating saw, an electric reciprocating saw, or a battery operated reciprocating saw, because of the fact that you may it's not as easy to control as you can with this handheld drywall saw. And if you're not familiar with using a reciprocating saw or any type of electrical saw, it could be it may turn out to be a bad situation. So this is the most effective and safest way that I can think of to cut this drywall. Other than I have done before, I've used a router. I had a 98 family unit of apartments that I had to do. So it was quite a bit of work to do, and all that work would have been quite a bit of work for me to just cut by hand. So I used a router, and the router allowed me just to go the 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch, depending on the depth of the drywall, and not go any further and hit anything that I shouldn't hit. So it worked out pretty good. But on small jobs like this, I do like just taking my drywall saw and just making a nice cut and taking my time and just have a nice straight line. And by the way, everyone doesn't own a router, and there's no need to go and buy one unless you're doing quite a few of these, or if you're a carpenter, finished carpenter. And by the way, this is a small cramped spot that I'm working in. The refrigerator is right. Actually, I'm squeezing between the refrigerator and the cabinet to get in here. And once I'm in here, I'm on my knees, and it's not much room to work in. So it's a cramped spot. Just to give you an idea. And see, since I've made one pass over it, I feel much more confident in really going into depth cutting with this drywall saw, because now I know there's nothing back there that's in my way, at least not in the spots that I'm cutting in. And so the second pass is actually making a clean cut completely through the drywall. And one thing I do know when I'm making this cut here, I don't really even have to make a line, because I know that the stud is right there, because the ice maker box has to be nailed to the stud, so, and it's right on the corner there. And now we're pulling it out. The good thing about this here, that it came out in one complete piece, so I can actually use this piece over. So when I do the work that I need to do in here, I can take this same piece of drywall and just put it back and tape and float it. They can paint it, whatever. It's behind the refrigerator. No one's really going to see it, but we are going to put the drywall back. Again, you see the drywall. You see the galvanized pipe. And behind this wall is the outside wall. The outside wall. And one thing I like to do as I'm working, sometimes some of the ideas I have just don't come right away to me. But so what I do is I try to keep myself busy, and I find the easiest things to do. And as I'm doing the easiest things, the things that I'm having problems with actually just starts to come to me, because I actually start seeing the whole picture when I start cutting into things and finding other alternatives to run pipes. Just like here in this toilet here. Um, of course, that's tile, like a marble tile, and we do not want to take that out. So what I'm going to do is come over here into the master bedroom, because that's the master toilet, and I'm going to drill from that side out in where the drywall is. And right here, I'm going, this is the lav sink, bath sink in the master bath. Just giving you an idea of what I'm going to have to work with here. This is very, very tight. You can't see it. I can actually barely get the camera and myself in here. So what I'm going to do is, again, this is being creative. Rather than trying to go back in the same spot where the original hot and cold water line to this sink is, I'm going to bring it out another wall, which is the same spot where the tub and shower valve. This panel here, I'll remove it, and you'll be able to see the tub and shower valve. And I do apologize about the light. It's a little too bright. It didn't look that bright with the camera up in here, but coming back editing, I could see that it was a little brighter than I needed it to be. So this is where the tub and shower valve is, and we're going to replace the pipes to that, but we're going to keep that same tub and shower valve. And also in that same wall, I'm going to bring the hot and cold water lines out to the bathroom sink, because trying to go into the wall, as you can see there where the valve is coming out, it's going to be a little too tight to try to get the new plumbing in there. So I'm going to make it as easy as I can on myself. And like I said, you can't really see the spot that I'm in. It's really too tight to do what I really would like to do. So again, this is the getting creative and looking at it and studying it and finding the cavities, meaning the openings to where you can run the pipes with as little destruction as possible. And back to that toilet I was telling you. We're here in the master bedroom, and that's where I'm going to run the pipe for that toilet up into the attic. And now we're in the hall bath. This is the bathroom sink in the hall. And again, tight spot to work in. But I do have a little more space at least to for the hot and cold on the sink itself. Now the difficult part here is going to be getting to the tub and shower valve. It's really it's I can't even explain how it's so hard to get to this spot. And again, I'm going to apologize for the light again because, like I said, it didn't look as bright when I was up under here working. But again, coming back to editing, I see that the it's pretty bright. And right here, you can see that's a panel. And once we remove that panel, we'll have access to the tub and shower valve. And again, we don't want to go through the front because it's been tiled already. And we do not want to damage any tile. And we want to do as little destruction as we can. And it makes it very difficult when you have to work like this in these conditions. But you know, sometimes you just have to do what you got to do. Now, you see the part where my hands are going through? That's an opening for the drawer. That's why it's so tight to get into here, because I can only get through this spot. And if you know the open size of a drawer, it's really tight. Okay, now we've got to the point where we can expose the tub and shower valve. See it right there? Okay. Now, what I'm looking at now is that it's going to be, I'm going to need a little more room to actually get to this tub and shower valve, especially on the right hand side from your viewing. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to cut some more of this wood and extend the paneling to a bigger opening so that I can get access to make my connections to the tub and shower valve. And what I'm doing here is just kind of feeling around to see what kind of room I have to work with. And that's how I know I don't have the room to do what I need to do. So I'm going to have to make the room to do what I need to do. And also, when you see my hand back there, I was feeling to make sure there was nothing that I was going to cut into that I shouldn't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this small reciprocating saw, battery operated. This is like one of my #1 tools. I love this tool. And since this is wood and it's not easy to cut as drywall, we're going to use this electric saw. Sorry, battery powered. And again, I know there's nothing back there that my saw blade is going to hit to cause any problems or any issues. It's just me getting my hands in there and getting in there to positioning myself to cut this. So of course you see now I'm taking the other drawer out at the bottom. Here we go. And the saw blade that I'm using on here is it's a wood cutting saw blade. They make wood cutting saw blades and metal cutting saw blades for this particular saw. This is a Milwaukee small reciprocating saw, 12 volt. It's very fast and strong. And no, they're not paying me for this. I just love their tools. And that's because it makes it a lot easier for me with these tools. Now, there we go. Now I have a little more access to get to the tub and shower valve. It's going to work because what I need to do is get in here and use a Pex Wirsbo elbow 90 that I can adapt into the valve, from the valve to the Pex piping. Okay, here we are. This is the same bathroom sink that we just cut the tub and shower valve opening wider. It's just now we're over to the part where we're up under the same cabinet. It's just that we're right up under the sink this time, and we're going to cut out access to run our new pipes from the attic down to here. So we're going to make the opening so when we feed the new Pex pipe down, we'll be able to pull it out from this end. And another reminder, hot is always on the left, cold is always on the right. If it's not, someone made a mistake, and it happens. But it's just keep a mental note of that in the future. It may come in handy, I don't know. And just like what we did with the laundry when we cut that out, this is definitely not going to come out in one clean piece. So it will come out in pieces. It'll still be a nice straight cut, sure, but we won't be able to use this drywall over. And here we are back in the kitchen. You can see where I started running some of the pipes up to the attic and bringing it down behind the refrigerator. So I'm going to utilize that space up there. And now we've brought it all the way down to the back side of the refrigerator. And you see the holes that I've drilled here. Actually, there's one more hole to drill because one hole that I drilled didn't work out. You can see, I don't know if you can see it, kind of hit the corner where the drawer went, so I'm going to have to raise it up a little higher and or lower and make my cut again. And this is where that's where I'm going to feed the PEX pipe. And again, we're back in the laundry. You can see how tight that working in that laundry room is. There's really no room, so. And okay, I'm just kind of lining it out and getting my head where I'm going to run the pipes. And again, this water heater, I don't even know where they got this from and who even hooked it up. But anyway, we're back out into the hall bath. Sizing it up again. And remember the access here. I guess with that shot there that I just gave you, you could probably see a little more of how tight the little spot is that I had to work in to do that. And again, here we are with the towel. Things we do not want to mess with. And this is another tricky one that was on my mind as I was running pipes of where to relocate it, and I did come up with something, and you'll see it later. And you can see here I do have one of the pipes through. This is a 1-inch PVC pipe, which I will run the PEX pipe right through the middle of it. And the reason I'm doing that, just for safety reasons, and it doesn't tear up anything, you know, because we all put things in our drawers and in the cabinets, and I just didn't want anything to catch the PEX pipe was back there. So protecting it with a sleeve of PVC piping. Okay, here we have a roll of PEX piping. And the fittings that we are going to use, the connections, meaning the fittings, meaning the connections, the valves, and everything that connects to this pipe are Uponor fittings, also known as Wirsbo. So if you go to a supply house or anywhere you go to buy the PEX pipe, you want to use the terminology Wirsbo, and if they don't know that, let them know that it's for Uponor. The Uponor fittings is what you want with these pipes. And right here is the in the master room. That's where you're looking up into the attic, where I drilled a hole. This is where the main water line is going to come into the home from the back side of here, which is the outside wall again. And here we go with the drop down ladder. And this wasn't a lot of fun running up and down this drop down ladder because it was in the most awkward spot that you can think of. Anyway, usually when I do go in the attic, I always bring a piece of 2x4 like this up with me. This 2x4 would allow, this plywood will allow me to lay it across the ceiling joists so that I can get a little more comfortable rather than straddling all the joists. And as you can see, you can see how tight the area is. This is a very tight and small attic. The highest point of this attic would probably be about maybe 4 feet, if that much. And if you look straight back there in the dark area, that's the area I'm going to have to crawl to. So I'm going to have to crawl up under this ductwork to get access over there so that I can grab hold of the main water line coming through and pull it back this way. So right now I'm just kind of clearing away so that I can get through there. And yes, they do have a lot of stuff in this attic. This was one of the most difficult repipe job that I've basically ever done. It was really difficult because of the size of the attic, and this particular day was a hot day, about 80 degrees outside, making this inside temperature probably close to 90, and then we had the humidity. So you're going to hear me breathing pretty hard and struggling up here because of the lack of oxygen and the heat. I would probably recommend this job for 2 people or 3 rather than just 1. I am doing this by myself, and it took me a week to do this, and I'm not pushing myself too hard. And the reason I've done this by myself so that I can focus and get as much video footage as I could and make it as clear as I could, possibly, so you guys out here, the viewers, can see exactly what's going on. And right there you can see the old galvanized pipe, and that little piece of white pipe right fitting is repair coupling. And this is one of the issues of why these pipes need to be changed out. They're starting to get pinholes, as well as the pressure decreasing because of the it's filled with so much calcium. This is years and years of buildup in these galvanized pipes. And we are in the Houston area. And a lot of Houston and outside surrounding Houston, you will run into a lot of older homes that do have a lot of galvanized. Even back in the 80s, they ran galvanized. I know you guys up there, up north, Midwest areas, that you started running copper quite a long time ago. But here they have ran a lot of galvanized in the 80s. And you can see that I'm slowly working my way to the back to get access to, actually right now I'm just looking to see if I can see the pipe. I can actually barely get back over there. Right at, you see that, I guess that's a 2x12 right here, right there. Right over this, I should be able to see the pipe, which I don't think I have it up far enough right now. So what I'm going to have to do is go back down. Yep, that's a lot of work. I'm going to have to shimmy myself back down and push the PEX pipe up so that I can get access and actually reach it and pull it from that spot right there, which you see that I'm looking at, where you see kind of a light spot there. And again, yes, I'm sitting here pausing because I am trying to catch my breath and cool down a little bit and not overheat and work myself. And making plans to shimmy my way back. The spot that I am in is so shallow that I'm more than just on my knees. I'm actually on my knees, and actually I even have to squat my knees just to get into that spot. But as I come out this end slowly, I start having a little more room to come up. Still quite tight, and all this stuff in the way is not helping. It would have been nice if I could have picked a a better job, easier, let me say easier job with a little easier access. But you know what? This is probably the best because most of you that's watching this, if you can deal with this, trust me, anything else is going to be a lot easier than this. And there's the furnace and AC unit all combined together right there with all this stuff. Okay, here we go. I've put duct tape on the end of the PEX pipe so that when I do push it up through the joist, none of the insulation or anything else would get stuck in the pipe. And I put the little curve on the end because we're right at the edge of the roof. So I put that curve on there so that it'll push up a little easier. And again, here we go to the drop down steps. And you see the steps just made the door. I guess now some of you can understand why a job like this might cost anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000, because this is a tight area to work in, and it's a hazardous job. It's a hazardous working in attics. For one, you can easily fall through. And it is a lot of stress trying to crawl through here. Right there, you see that dresser coupling again? Okay, finally, I made it to the end to where I can catch on to the main water service that will be coming into the house. And this is going to be the main water service going straight to a manifold that I've made specifically just for this job. And of course, yes, I'm trying to catch my breath. I'll pull this as far as I can, and I'm sure it's going to get a little caught, so I will be running back downstairs to push it up a little more. So this is probably going to be one of the hardest parts of the job, is just getting this main water service through here. And this is 3/4 inch PEX, and I'm using the blue for cold to indicate the blue and the hot, the blue and the red pipes. Okay, you didn't need to see the rest of that, me just torturing myself. So I'm just gonna, I fast forwarded to the spot where I want to get to. I'm still fighting with it a little bit, but it's getting to where I need it. And I shouldn't have to crawl back to the other end again. The only time I need to crawl back is when I start nailing the or anchoring the pipes down to the joists, the ceiling joists. You know, you never know what you're gonna find in people attics. Okay, now I'm just about where I need to be. A little bit further over by the steps. You can see over there to your right. See the opening. And that pipe right here, that's the gas line. So I'm real cautious of that, crossing over back and forth with that. It's really not a lot to worry about. It's black iron pipe and very sturdy. Now right here is where I need the pipe, right here. And this is the spot that I'm going to make all of my connections to my manifold. Again, also known as a mana block, a home run box, or a junction box. This is the where all of the water throughout the house is going to be distributed from this location once you see uh, when it's put together. Okay, I'm taking a trip back into the laundry room. And right here you can see where I made an access to run the bring the PEX pipe through, because this part of the attic is I could not crawl to this if I wanted to. So what I'm going to have to do is push it from a distance and get it over to the point where I need to get it. Let me show you the outside, the area of the roof. Then you can see why it's so tight to even try to. You can see right there, that little corner of the building right there that's the laundry room, and you can see the roof. How much space there is to run, get in there. There's none, so I'll have to crawl through the main part of the roof and work my way around and feed the pipe over to that area of the house. And I'm just giving you like just panning around, give you an idea. Just kind of panning around, give you an idea of the roof that I have to work in. I'm in the attic, and showing you the roof to get an idea of the space that I'm working in. You see how low profile this roof is, very tight. And this is the front part of the house. I mean, there's I knew the first time that I looked at this roof this was going to be a difficult job, but this was the only job that I could find at the time to videotape and at my leisure, and at a time that I could focus on it. Okay, rather than work up in the attic and at those tight quarters, what I'm going to do is do a lot of assembling my connections down here on the outside, where I have access to everything, more room, light. I mean, you name it. This is going to make the job a lot easier, just prefabbing the stuff up, and then once I go up there, I can just set it in place and just start running pipes to it. It'll all be built up. These are what I'm showing you are the fittings. Those little white rings, or they call them blueprints. Those are used to go over the pipe, and they're expanded with the pipe. And once they're expanded, we'll release it, and the pipe comes back down and squeezes over the fittings like this. This is a Pex ball valve, which is Uponor. Again, Uponor or Wirsbo. Two different names, meaning the same company that makes it. Wirsbo fittings. This is a Wirsbo drop-eared 90. Again, also known as Uponor. And this is just an ordinary outside faucet that we're going to screw into the fitting once we bring the pipe out through the wall. We're going to use galvanized through the. We're only going to use short pieces of galvanized like this here, and we're going to use that. This is a 1/2 inch. We're going to use that for the cutoff valves up under sinks, so that we'll have something sturdy. Manifold. This is a small manifold. This will allow me to run 3/4 inch through it and come out each one with 1/2 inch to catch a toilet and a sink and a shower, which would be one group of a bathroom, hot or cold. And this is basically the same thing. So this one we're going to use, and once I build this manifold, it will be built to isolate each restroom. It'll isolate the laundry and kitchen so that if there's any issues with the plumbing, this is going to be used for the main water line coming into the house through the wall, so that it'll have that stability. And of course, I'm going to use my great stuff to seal any holes that I make through the brick wall to run the galvanized pipes again for stability. And what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of lining out and getting in my head how I'm going to build this manifold. And you can see the number of valves that I'm using. I'm actually going to use a few more than I have here. These valves are going to allow me to isolate the one bathroom from the other. It's going to allow me to isolate the laundry from the bathrooms and the kitchen, etc. I mean, to me, I like a lot of valves. Now, if you have, a lot of people have had their plumbing changed with PEX pipe, and in remodel jobs and renovations and repipes like I'm doing here, a lot of times you're not going to get a lot of plumbers that's going to do this isolation stuff that I'm doing here. A lot of times you're going to find the isolation of plumbing in newer homes. And of course, right there, I was showing you the tool that I used to cut the PEX pipe with. And these are the blueprint fittings. And of course, this is the. You notice that the. This is the expansion tool that expands the pipe apart, and the memory of the pipe brings it back together, and it grips around the PEX fitting, the Uponor or Wirsbo fitting, creating a nice tight seal connection. And the isolation, as I was saying, isolating one bathroom from the other. This way, if someone has a problem in one of the restrooms, they don't have to shut down the whole entire house. They can shut just that restroom off. And by the way, this expansion tool, you can also get it where it's manual, where you can actually do it with your hand. You don't need the battery operated. I mean, but for me, I do it quite a bit, and it will wear my arms out. So I rather do it this way. And actually, the manual one is really not much difference in price. Uh, so if you're going to do it quite a bit, this is the tool you want to get. And you see how I gave it a minute once I expanded the pipe and slipped it over the fitting. Just give it a minute and it's nice, tight, and it's sealed. It's not going to go anywhere. And the reason I lay this stuff out like I've got it laid out, it keeps me, it reminds me of what fittings going where. Because if I just kind of tossed it around and just made it up and put it in, I mean, I'm sure to forget. Say, oh man, I forgot a T or I forgot a valve. So just setting it up like this and keeping it like this until I'm done, it helps me remember where everything's going. And if you notice, when the expander is expanding the pipe, the shaft that's going inside, you see it turn every time it expands open. It closes and it turns just a little bit. So if you was doing one manually with the regular tool, that's you work with your hand, it's really hard to do that process with that particular tool. This here automatically does it, so you can't beat this. Now there are other fittings out there for PEX pipe. Zurn makes fittings, but me personally, this is what I prefer. I prefer the Uponor or Wirsbo. The Uponor or Wirsbo, as far as code goes, they want the opening of a pipe to be, or any fitting to be, the exact same opening as the pipe itself. With Wirsbo and Uponor, it keeps it at that opening, the same diameter as the pipe. But with the others, um, the fittings are a little smaller, so you have so it's a little smaller than the diameter of the pipe, and their theory is that it starts getting friction because it's banging it up against something smaller than the original size. So inspectors and plumbing examiners, this is what they want to see. They want to see the opening as wide as the diameter of the pipe, the inside diameter of the pipe. And me personally, I feel it makes a much better, much tighter seal than any other PEX fitting that's out there on the market. Now, when you see the stuff that our retailers carry, the hardware stores and such, like Home Depot and Lowe's, they're not going to carry the Wirsbo or Uponor. At least now they're not carrying it. I'm hoping in the future that they will carry it. But now you go there, you're going to get the Zurn type fittings, and they're going to sell the Zurn type tools. So this is basically a plumbing supply item that you're going to find. You're not going to find it at too many hardware stores that I know of, not unless they've changed. And again, this is the year 2015, about to be 16, so we'll see what's going to happen in the future here. And this is Aquapex Pex piping. It's a lot more flexible than a lot of the other PEX pipe that you find on the market. And the more flexible, the more give it got, the easier it is to work with. It doesn't crimp as easy. It's flexible. Not only flexible, it's thick and sturdy. Now the black fittings that you see that I'm using, the black plastic fittings, uh, you can also get those in brass. You can get it in brass. Brass is a lot more expensive, um, but a lot of people may feel a little more comfortable with the brass. Uh, but I'm comfortable with this here, black plastic here myself. It's very sturdy and strong. And it also keeps the cost down. So you're getting And now this is actually this is like the second day that I'm out here on this job. It's a lot cooler today, which would have actually been a better day to actually work up in the attic. And the rest of the week is supposed to be pretty nice. So when I go back up there, it should be a little more comfortable, at least as far as the temperature wise. Well, I'll tell you, I would have never attempted this job in the summertime. It's fall, so it makes it a little easier. In the summertime, if I had done something like this, I would have had to. I would gotten one or two other people to help me with this, and we would have got it done a lot faster and not burn one person out, especially in the hot heat here down in Texas. Okay, it's slowly coming together. It's got a little bow in it, so what I'm going to do is just kind of push it down, kind of get the bow out as much as I can. But I'm not really concerned too much with that because I will brace it against something and pull the bow out of it. And once it settles in place and it's being used, the plastic, the PEX pipe will become relaxed and it'll work itself out. But you can see how I lifted that up and put it over there. You can see how sturdy it was. So okay, we're done with the cold manifold. Now I'm going to make up one for the hot. And of course it's going to be red. Indication, red and hot. Red for hot and blue for cold. And again, it's going to be the same process with a few less fittings because you don't have as many hot fixtures running through the home as you do have cold. And that's because you've got the toilets and the outside faucets. So you're going to have a few more cold fittings. Okay, we basically have the hot water manifold made up. A few more fittings to put in here. And you can see this is where I'm changing out the heads on the expander, going from the 3/4 inch to the 1/2 inch. And you see how quick and easy that is. This kit comes with a 1/2 inch, a 3/4 inch, and a 1 inch head. Okay, here's my little system that I made up. This is my manifold. This is the platform that I'm going to use, and I'm going to take these and place them up in the attic, up against some of the 2x4s that's bracing the roof, and I'll screw that to them, and it'll be nice and stable, and all the pipes will come to this and only this. This makes it a lot easier rather than climbing through the attic and trying to connect every little joint. This way I have everything in the same location, and I don't have to continuously crawl through the attic. I'm going to place the hot right here, and one of the reasons I am doing this is because I guess it's psychological. Hot is always on the left, and cold is always on the right. So I'm going to put the hot here and the cold on this one right here that's going vertically up. Okay, and right now I'm holding it upside down. I'm just seeing how the how this board is going to fit up here. The plywood, piece of plywood that I've got everything attached to. See, this is a good location. It's going to work great. I did, and I would have liked to put it downstairs somewhere, probably in a closet or something like that. But they've had so much work done in this house, and I just didn't want to damage anything. So after a while, I looked around, and this is what I came up with. I said, hey, you know, I'll just put it up here in the attic, where they can just run up the stairs and they have access to it. And besides, you see all the stuff they have in the attic. The closets are pretty full too. Again, this manifold is homemade, and like I said, I made it specifically for this project here. Let me give you an idea of one that's made up from the factory would look like. Now this is what a factory Wirsbo manifold would look like. If it looks any different than this, more than most likely it's not this. They've got the black mana box, mana block that's made by Wirsbo, so don't get them confused. Again, this is Wirsbo manifold. This is a large house here, so you can see the numbers of fittings and valves that they have on here. So this gives you an idea. This is what you're looking for if you're going manufacturer. Me, this is homemade, and of course this is going to be a lot cheaper. Not to take business away for those guys, but those are nice manifolds. They are quite expensive though. And always when I put valves in, and most plumbers when they do put the valves in, we always put them in the off position. because it's easy to forget and go turn the water on and realize, oh, too late, water's going everywhere. So you make it a practice of every time you put a new valve in, it's off before you cut the water on. And all these are off, and the way that you can tell they're off is because they're going the opposite way of the pipe. These are Pex ball valves, Wirsbo, Uponor. So if we want them on, we just turn the valve, the handle, the same direction that the pipe is going, and that would be on position. And what I'm doing here is just securing my panel to the 2x4s, making it nice and sturdy, so when I do start putting the pipes together, we won't have anything moving or jiggling around. It'll be nice and tight and sturdy. And remember the main water line. This is, I'm pulling it through here, and this will be the first piece of pipe that I connect to the manifold. And it will connect right there to your left, of course on the blue side, because this is cold water coming in. And that valve right there to your far left at the bottom, that's where the main water service is going to come in and start to distribute throughout the house. Okay, and this is another this is you can see the blue 1/2 inch PEX pipe that I've tied in up at the top manifold on the left hand side of the blue. That's 1/2 inch, and that's going to one of the bathrooms. It's going to go to either the shower, the toilet, or one of the fixtures in just one of the bathrooms. And that unit right there will go to, on the left, will go to one bathroom, and the unit on the right will go to the other bathroom, isolating them. The cold and cold. And this is the 1/2 inch flex Aquaflex that I'm unraveling. Okay, here we are back at the laundry. You can see that I've made my drops down from up to the laundry, and I have the cold already connected. And now I'm going to cut off piece of the PEX here to connect my hot water spigot. I wish you could see, more of this, but I'm sure that throughout the video in the beginning, you'll get the gist of it, and you probably already understand the process that what's going on. And once I get the expander to open it up wide enough. I'm going to try to move as fast as I can to get the get this piece in here on there and slip it on. You can see that the piece is already made up, so that I don't have to try to turn all that behind the laundry. It's already been done and prefabbed up from the outside. And we will come back later and we will tie that down. We'll put something, some type of board or something in there to screw that to so it'll be stable. But right now we're just going to let things hang and dangle. The water to the house is on. They still have water. And I'm not going to turn the water off until the day that I'm ready to tie everything in. And that should take me about half the day to tie everything in. Again, we are up under the kitchen sink. And you see the PEX pipe. We have the cold right here. That's going through the 1-inch PVC. And we're going to run the hot, and then we're going to screw these down and get them nice and strong and stable. We'll screw them to the back of the cabinet. Another thing good about this 1-inch PVC sleeve is that it makes it easy for me to feed it from one end to the other without getting stopped in the middle. As you can see, I'll just go straight out and not get tangled up in the drawers or anything like that. And again, this is part of the creative part of being creative rather than destructive and tearing everything up, is working around all the things, the nice cabinetry and woodwork that's been done and the countertops. We're not going to move all that, so this makes it a lot easier and convenient. And here we have, there's our new ice maker box that we're going to use. And again, the water is hooked up. The older ice water maker is hooked up, so they do have water to the refrigerator. It's never easy working up under any cabinet. Here I'm just showing you where I took the drywall screws and screwed the drop ear 90s back to the back part of the cabinet, which will make it easier for me to put the valves on and turn them. And here we are in the hall bath. You can see that I've made the drops here, the hot and cold drops for the lav sink here, and I've made the drops for the shower and tub. And now here we are in the master bath, and the tight area that I had to work in. That's why I brought the pipes out on the other side behind the shower. It'll be easier for me to access rather than trying to go back where the original pipe is. Okay, now we're outside. This is the back side of the where the ice maker box is, and where my hot and cold water lines are going to the kitchen sink. It's all going to tie in right in this little area right here. And what I'm doing is just beating a hole through the brick wall so that I can run my galvanized pipe through here, which will be probably about a 8-inch piece of galvanized pipe protrude through the wall so that I can catch it on the other end, and I can connect my outside faucet to this area right here. And again, I'm using the galvanized pipe so that I'll have stability and it'll be nice and sturdy. And as I make this hole, I just constantly, you'll see that I'm constantly turning the bit. And I'm trying not to make it no bigger than I have to. And this hole will go completely through to the other side on the back side of the refrigerator. Okay, this is going to be, again, our outside faucet for the water hose and watering the grass and all that good stuff. Now I know a lot of people up in the north and Midwest where it's a little colder, you're kind of surprised to see it just like it is. I know that you're used to having an anti-frost seal cocks put in, what they call them seal cocks. These here are just standard because it doesn't freeze down here like it does up there, so there's no concern to have anti-frost freeze cocks here. Now we're back here, back again behind the refrigerator area where the ice maker is, and we're starting to tie our pipes together. Okay, we're catching our ice maker, our outside faucet. You can clearly see the outside. We're going to fill that hole with some great stuff, expandable foam, and we're also going to spray the expandable foam in right there between the stud and the pipe to make it nice and sturdy and secure. And it so happens that that piece of drywall that we did cut out of there, once I removed the older ice box, we could just flip it around and it works works on the other side. It just worked out like that. This is the older outside faucet where it was right behind the kitchen sink. And this is the new one. And once we're done with this, we're going to remove the old one and get it out of there. Now this is where right there to the far left you can see that's the cold water main coming from the street. This is how they do it here. Cold water main, which is PVC, coming from the street and up. And what I'm going to do is going to reroute it back to this side, because right where that pipe is right directly behind that bed, and that bed has got a headboard, and I didn't want to remove all that stuff. So I'm just going to relocate it and work my way around that. And again, we're breaking a hole through the brick wall so that we can run our 3/4 inch main line into the house. Now there are some homes that do require 1 inch, um, and usually that's in an area where the water pressure might be low in that particular part of the city, and also depending on the size of the home and how many plumbing fixtures, how many bathrooms it's going to pick up. But this one here is only picking up 2 bathrooms, the kitchen, laundry, and 2 outside spigots, and the pressure here is good. This is good water pressure, so a 3/4 is sufficient for this home right here. And right here you may see a little pause. That's because I ran around to the other side to see how I was looking on the other side as I was coming through the wall. And I'll be right back around here shortly. Okay, now from the other side again. I'm just seeing how it fits and how it looks on the other side. And everything's good. So this is what we're going to go with. The hole's big enough. So from here is where we're going to take it. Now this won't be hooked up today. I'm just making preparations for the when I'm done running the other pipes in the house and ready to tie in. And then this, I'll come up here and I'll cut the main water service and angle it over to this galvanized pipe here. And I'm just prepping it up again so it'll be ready for the day that I come out here. And this is a 3/4 by 3/4 by half T, and I'm catching the main coming into the house as well as the outside faucet all in one right here. Now we're back inside. This is where the master room is, where I am running the main into the house. And again, just on the other side of that wall, that pipe is there, and you can see it's still loose. I left it loose so that I can have the ability to move it and maneuver it where I want it, rather than having it stiff and stuck and fighting with it. Now I can just go ahead and do what I need to do, and then we'll come back later and we'll make this nice, tight, and stable. Now with that flexibility, it made it a little easier for me to install this pipe. You can see I had a little bit of a time just with that, so we can only imagine if it was secure and in place and didn't have any flexibility. Okay, now we're going to back up a little bit so that I can show you the view up by the ceiling. And here we are back outside. Just coming to check on the pipe that I have stubbing out through here. And of course, I'm going to seal this hole so that nothing can crawl through it overnight, like bugs or anything like that. And also make it nice, tight, and secure, because once that expandable foam expands and gets hard, it's not going anywhere. And now that I have my can of great stuff, expandable foam, I'm going to go ahead and do this other hole over here by the kitchen, the other outside faucet. And trust me, with this expandable foam, this is not going anywhere. It's in there tight. But in the future, if it ever needs to be removed, it's not going to be an issue. And here we are on the back side of the refrigerator from the outside faucet inside. And we're going to seal from in here also. And I'm just kind of isolating this PEX pipe here, so fill that hole a little bit. One thing about this great stuff, this expandable foam, you do not want to get it on your hand. If you do, you're going to wear it for a week. I'll tell you that right now. It doesn't come off that easy. And this is the other one, the main valve coming in, main water line coming into the house. And again, I'm just sealing it from the inside. And what I'm doing here is I'm making up some pieces that I can use to brace my valves up under the sink and at the laundry. And here we are back here again. You can see I finally came up with a way that I'm going to run this these water lines to the hot water heater. And like I said, let's hope they replace that water heater. But at least the pipes will be here. Then they can do what they want. If they don't have me change it out or not. My main goal right now is just changing out the water lines, the old galvanized to PEX. Again, I don't know what they got going on there. And here we are back at making up the braces for the valves and the laundry valve and the valves up under the sink. This will give you an idea of how I came up with the idea to make this up and fit this up under the sinks without and what I've done, I had some pieces of leftover metal studs from another job, and I'm just took my tin snips and cut pieces out and just making up some little braces that I can use to squeeze between the 2x4s in the wall and make a brace to brace the valves too. And while working with something like this, you notice that I'm wearing some heavy leather gloves because working with metal studs or any kind of tin is very sharp and very dangerous. So you want to make sure you cover your fingers up pretty good and work slow and careful with the tin. To see the way I've got it is that's going to squeeze right inside the joist, and that 1x of plywood will squeeze right in there, and then I can just screw this right here, the drop ear 90 to the board, and the valve will be screwed on the other end, protruding through the wall. So that's how that's going to work. And what I'm doing here is showing you we just left. I moved from the meter, the water meter, which is right out by the curb, and it's pretty much in line with the water service at the house. And of course, it's going through these roots and trees, and eventually, in some years, this root is the tree roots here is going to give that water service a problem. It happens all the time, but no one ever prepares for it. This is the meter box. This is what it looks like, and I always carry a little garden tool around so that I can scrape small dirt like this out my way carefully and safely without damaging anything that's down there. You don't want to just ram a shovel down in here and take a chance and busting the pipe. So we're just taking our time and rake the dirt around. And most of these meters, they do get filled with dirt right away because of their, I mean, not right away, but they usually get filled with dirt because as time goes by, the water from the rain and all that, it just builds up. And so what I'm doing now is just cleaning away so that I can get access to the cutoff, the main cutoff, which will cut it off completely to the house. There's two main cutoffs. This is one, and then one, of course, at the house. And of course, we know this is the one when you don't pay your bill would be cut off. And actually, there is a third one that's actually out in the street. And that particular cutoff, you don't have access to that, and the only way you can get access to that is with a backhoe. You have to dig the street up. They have to saw cut the blacktop or cement, whatever, to get down to that particular valve to cut the water off. And usually that's only done when the house is being demoed and the service is no longer going to be used. So that's something you never really have to worry about. Okay, now I have the water cut off to the water main going to the house right here. So this is going to allow me the opportunity to go ahead and tie the new line into here, and then once that's done, I can go and cut the water back on, because upstairs in the attic where you see I do have the manifold, that it's cut off right there, so no water's going to go completely through the house, just to the manifold, and that's it. And then we'll slowly go up there and turn on all the valves to the bathrooms, laundry, and kitchen to make sure there's no leaks. And I apologize about the camera action and the noisiness, but am the cameraman, I'm the janitor, I'm everybody in this video. The writer, the producer. What you see is what you get. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I've got the old one disconnected and I'm letting the water from the house drain out before I start disconnecting the older pipes inside so that we don't have water everywhere. So I'm letting as much come out here in the sinks and on the other side as I possibly can to try to completely dry out the old lines that are in there before I make connections inside. And while that's going on, I'm going to go ahead and start connecting the new line. So what I'm doing here is I did leave this loose the other day. So now we're going to go ahead and start tightening things up. And you see them using 2 wrenches, one to back me up so that I don't so you don't spin on the inside. You you really never want the 2 pipe wrenches facing the same direction. That's why I flip that around. And I know the other pipe wrench looks odd. I seen it, had to have it, and it's been very, very, very helpful. So I've gotten attached to it, and it works in a lot of different situations that other pipe wrenches wouldn't work in. And these are my PVC cutters that will cut up to 1-inch pipe. And again, this is 3/4 inch going into the home. PVC, schedule 40. And this is also the day that I'm making all my tie-ins. I'm tying everything back together, all the new stuff together, and disconnecting all the old stuff. But first we're going to connect all the new stuff, make sure the water's on and running and there's no leaks, and then we can work on removing the older galvanized pipes and getting them out the way. But the most important thing now is to get the water back to the house on. So I'm working as fast as I can, but not too fast so I don't overlook something and do something wrong. Now we're back on the other side. And again, same day I'm draining the pipes again. And the best place to drain the pipes from the house is the outside faucets, which are usually the lowest fixture in just about any house. It's right there with the toilet. Toilet is going to be one of the lowest ones in the house. And again, we're back over here at the main water service. And what I did there is just cut a random piece, just a random piece, so that I can line that pipe going horizontal up with the one that's vertical. And now I'm cutting here so that I can install the 3/4 inch ball valve, PVC ball valve. And I know a lot of you up there in the other parts of the country where the weather's cold, probably sitting there with your mouth open. So what? Uh, yeah, we don't worry about that stuff here. It's the weather's here is usually pretty good. It's not too cold, so that's not a real issue here. And the reason I do say that because I know what you guys are thinking. I lived up that way, and I understand the difference between the plumbing codes in the southern part of the country and the plumbing codes in the northern part or east coast where it gets cold. Uh, the stipulations on the codes are a little different. and that's due to some of it's due to the weather. Up there, you have to bury the pipes deeper so they don't get um, so they don't freeze. And actually, up there, I know it freezes up there so bad that the ground really gets hard, and you can't even break it with a shovel. And here, again, that's not an issue. So just clearing that up. So I know you guys up there have questions up in the East Coast and the North, in the cold weather countries. And again, if you have any questions that I haven't answered, please feel free to put them down in the comment below. Um, Ask me what you like to know. I've worked in both areas in the country where it's cold, 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 and it's hot, hot, hot. So I do understand the different codes. And usually when you glue these together, when you glue any PVC pipe together, any type of pipe, ABS, whatever that requires glue, once you push it into the fitting, you do want to make a turn. And the reason to make that turn is to remove any voids that might be in there. The only time that you see that I didn't twist is when I wasn't able to, like when I pushed it into the valve itself. It was already twisted from one end. But in most cases, every case, if you can, you want to put that little twist in there just to get those voids out, if there is a void in there. Now we've got that tied together. We'll give it a chance to dry, and which won't take too long. This is some really good glue. As a matter of fact, this is this type of glue that you can use with light water on the pipe. And what you see now is I'm putting a vacuum breaker on the outside spigot, and these are code. And the reason you have the vacuum breakers is so that if there's a minus pressure out in the street, I mean in your home, and the street is sucking the water, if there's a fire down the street and the fire department is using the hose, sometimes that'll create a minus pressure and it'll draw water actually from your house. And if that's the case, then that would allow any contamination that you might have in your house to be siphoned out into the main. For example, if you have your water hose hooked up and it's laying in some, and you've sprayed your lawn with pesticide, and that pressure sucks that water back up from your house, and that pesticide goes up in the water hose, it's going to get out into the main water service and contaminate the entire block and the system. So this is the reason why they do use these backflow devices, anti-siphon, so that the water doesn't suck back up the other way. It only go one way and it can't go the other way. And this is code now. And you probably noticed the little screw I put on there at the end. The inspectors do like us to break those off so that homeowners don't come out and screw those off of there. Now you can see that I had one valve on, and this is what our pipes look like in our manifold. All the pipes are hooked up, and this is what I decided to do with this toilet. Rather than tearing all the towel and all that out, is I decided to put it on the opposite side. And by doing that, I had to use an extra long toilet supply line. Actually, I put two lines together so that I can reach over there. But that was a better option than tearing up the towel and really destroying that bathroom. And now you can see I have the drops here, and I have the cutoff valves on. the hot and the cold PEX pipe coming through, and they're attached. And the water, let's see, I don't know if the water's onto this yet. Now we're going to pull this drawer out, and you will be able to see the tub and shower valve. It's connected. Okay, hot on the left, cold on the right. It's reversed. You're looking at it right now. And this is the toilet that goes to the master bath. Remember that towel I didn't want to tear up? So what I did, okay, now we're up under the master sink, and this is all tied in. And we'll come back and put the panel back on there. It's tied into the shower here. And again, this is the option that I had to run a new cutoff valve. And again, we're looking at the main cutoff in the master bedroom, up through the ceiling to the attic. Back in the laundry, we have the hot and cold connected. Kitchen sinks all connected, and all the cutoff valves are quarter turn. And here's the outside spigot. And I came to turn this one on. Yeah, because of course this is not connected anymore. And again, here we go with the anti-siphon device. If you don't have one on your home, it's a good idea to get one if you want to protect your neighborhood. If your neighbors don't have one, you might want to mention it to them. It doesn't cost that much. It just screws right on. And again, you see me break the screw off, so now it's stuck on there, and they can't just come and unscrew that without changing out the valve itself. Okay, now you see I have all the valves on. All on the hot side and all on the cold side on. The blue right there in the middle coming up, that's the main coming into the cold manifold. I'm sorry, the one from the side, the left side coming in, that's the main. The one going to the bottom is the one going to the hot water heater. And then back from the hot water heater, it goes to the hot water heater, and then the red comes from the hot water heater and comes back to here to feed the hot manifold. Okay. Each riser there, each branch that you see there, represents a bathroom or a section of the another section of the house where you can cut the water off separate. And I'm just taking some insulation tape right here so that I can kind of isolate the cushion the water line from the 2x4, I mean the plywood itself, so that it doesn't rub up against it and wear on the pipe itself. A little insulation between them. And on this side, I'm just putting some more of that insulation tape over here to put an insulator between the pipes and the wood again, so that it doesn't rub against each other. And now, one of the things I'm doing here is I'm just getting this ready to start putting some of the drywall back in some of the areas. And I'm just using a regular piece of 1x, just enough to catch the drywall at each end so that it'll hold in place. And once I do that, the only thing left for me to do is to tape the seams, and I'll leave the painting up to the painters or whoever they want to have to do that. But I will put these patches back in. And when I screw the drywall screws in, I usually try to screw them in far enough to go below the go beyond the surface, because you don't want it bulging out, so you just go a little bit past the drywall and inside the drywall itself. That way when you go to tape and float, which is what they call it, tape and float, meaning you put the mud on there, you put the tape, and you float the tape out. Then you put a couple of extra coats of plaster mix once one coat dries. So it's usually like three coats, and each coat is sanded down before painting. And these 1x pieces, I just made them out of some plywood, just some 3/4 inch plywood I had laying around. The other ones, the other braces that you see me make up earlier, I end up not using them. Didn't have to. Came up with another way. As I said, jobs like this, you become very creative once you start working on them. You start seeing other ways of doing things, and if it's a better route, you go that route. That's all. You can see that now you see why I couldn't crawl through here. This is exactly why I couldn't crawl through. I couldn't fit through there. And this is above the laundry room, just enough to get my camera in there. Actually, my head's not in there. I just stuck the camera up there. And if you're wondering why that old galvanized pipe is still in there, it's more trouble than it's worth trying to take that out. You actually can do more damage just trying to cut that stuff out of there. So it's not hurting anything, so I'm just going to leave it right where it is. I'm only going to remove it where I have access and I feel it's not going to tear anything up. And you see I was able to use that piece over the piece that I took out the first time. I just flipped it to the other side where the pipes could come out on the other side instead of where the old ice maker box was. And I'm only taking this loose because I forgot to put the cover on there. So now we're going to put the cover on here. And we can put the ice maker holes back on.